Thank you, Mr. President. I rise today in opposition of SB 138, just like I rose in opposition of Mulberry being a city from the start. And I had huge concerns then. The measure, it was for an amendment, so yes, voters could decide if they wanted the city of Mulberry. But that bill at that time was rushed through, slapped together, and frankly, it wasn't even a well thought out product. And because it wasn't a well thought out product when it rolled out, now we have lawsuits. There are still questions about if the cityhood is even legal, and that has been why the county that's one of the reasons why they had some reservations about negotiations, because that has not been resolved in the courts as to was it even constitutional for a city like Mulberry with limited services to really be a city. That has not been resolved. Even that piece of legislation, like this one, went around local process and was not done correctly. So that's why we're here right now. And I expressed concerns then that there were problems, and there were going to be problems with the way the city of Mulberry, how their charter was written, all of it was done. And now we have problems. And now there's legal disputes. But the abuse of power started last year when the amendment was rammed through this body. That's where it started. So every time there's these disputes between city and county now, the power in this body tries to get through and get around local legislation to ram through what is not well thought out legislation. The reason we're having a problem is this is a square peg trying to fit in a round hole. There are some problems. And part of the dispute is because the city of Mulberry really doesn't have it all together, and that's causing some of the strife with them even forming the city and getting their charter together and elections. All these things are happening as a result of this was not a well thought out city from the start. The legislation was rushed through. So steps can be missed. And sometimes if an issue is if you're getting this much opposition and it's costing you this much political capital and money, maybe it's not the right thing to do. That's what my mom always told me. If something seems a little too hard and you're getting a little too much opposition, that might be a sign it is the wrong course. And I do think residents in the end for Mulberry, they're not going to get what they want. This came about as a result of a zoning issue. And I do believe in the end, Mulberry will not do what it says it is trying to do, and I do think this is going to cost the residents in that area money. And on the practical point, this bill is an ongoing conflict between the city of Mulberry and Gwinnett County. It is sensitive, it's complex, it should be hashed out between the two parties, and 138 is going to make this situation even worse on every front by using the state power to weigh in on one side of the scale. And this is not how good legislation is supposed to work, and how, if we're really trying to form a city, this is how it's supposed to work. Just because you're not getting what you want, and now you're going to bring it to the floor of all your colleagues because you got 33 votes. Disrespecting the local process of us in the local delegation, and no conversations were even had with us. Just as before when we passed the amendment for Mulberry. It's going to set a dangerous precedent by allowing cities like Mulberry to have nearly unlimited leverage over the county government. They get tax revenue without accepting full responsibility for the services they're supposed to provide. They also get what they want with stormwater, infrastructure, law enforcement coverage, and this bill places a burden on the county to figure out this issue, and it doesn't require the cities to act on any good faith. And what's even more insulting is Mulberry was formed because residents were angry with Gwinnett County. You wanted to separate from Gwinnett County. So now you've figured out, oh, now we need Gwinnett County, but we want our cake and eat it too. Want your city? Go make your own city work the way you want it to work. You don't need the county. That's why you wanted a city. It also creates an unequal system of preference for new cities that are allowed to negotiate on this unfair playing field versus cities that have already existed for years and formed their cities in the right way. And that's not even talking about the language that's forcing county to foot the legal bills for the cities. It is a slap in the face to Gwinnett County. The city of Mulberry has consistently walked directly into mistake after mistake with their leaders, and their leaders were warned, and now they want Gwinnett taxpayers to foot the bill. But on a higher level, we have to stop abusing the system surrounding general legislation versus local legislation, because at some point, 33 won't be your number. It violates the spirit of how this system is supposed to work. And it's clear that this is an example of where the majority knew that this wasn't going to fly through our local delegation, so they're forcing it again as a general legislation. I oppose the way that things are supposed to stay local until the majority party wants to force a solution to their dispute between a city and a county. And they want to force a solution that's going to be unpopular with residents as a whole in Gwinnett County. I want to ask all of you to consider the consequences before you decide you want to pass this bill today. Because the sovereign immunity piece, yeah, it's tailored for Gwinnett County now. But we're going to set a pattern for this being tailored for anybody's county. Anytime a city is having a fight with the county, oh, well, you know, they're not negotiating in good faith. Let's just remove their sovereign immunity, which affects who runs for your seats. It affects your law enforcement. It's serious. And I don't know if y'all all got together in a gym somewhere and decided, let's remove sovereign immunity. This is that year we're going to put it in every bill to force situations, because I keep seeing it coming up. So it must be something this body is talking about and the other body, and somebody came up with a brilliant idea. Oh, let's throw sovereign immunity and just start putting it in bills and forcing issues to strong arm people into what we want. Consider the consequences of using this one-size-fits-all solution to address what is a local problem between Gwinnett County, Mulberry, and the senator from the 45th. This stakes intrusion is not welcome, and frankly, it's bad policy. And with that, Mr. President, I yield the will.
The senator has